When I was in first grade, a girl in my class asked me if I worshiped the devil. It took me a minute, but I figured out what she was actually trying to ask me. So I was able to very simply say, no, I'm Jewish. As Jews, we don't believe in Jesus, but we also don't worship the devil. I was clear, confident, and concise. So she accepted what I said, and we went back to playing together. A few weeks later, however, the same girl in my class pulled me aside and asked, "Why are you always so dirty?" I remember looking down at my recently washed clothing, suddenly confused and totally ashamed for no good reason. I had no idea what was happening, and I had no idea what I could possibly have done wrong. "What are you talking about? I take a shower every day." "Then why does your skin look like dirt?" And to that, I had no idea what to say. "Because it is this way?" There were no words, just shame. Just a feeling of inexplicable wrongness, as if there was something inherently problematic about my very being. And this was just one interaction, just one 4-line exchange between children. And yet, her words cut me down. She told me to stop existing, that I should not be taking up space in this world of hers. And she only said it once, not day in, day out, every single day for years and years on end. And when I went home, I was going home to comfortably middle-class, white, well-educated parents. I was not going home to people who had also been told that they too did not matter, whose parents had been told they didn't matter, whose grandparents had been told they didn't matter, and whose great-grandparents had been owned as slaves. I was going home to people who were used to being listened to and taken seriously. And they raised me to expect the same for myself. In other words, I grew up with a lot of privilege. And I feel super guilty about it. I always have. I used to feel so guilty about all of the amazing good stuff that I had and so many other people didn't, that I used to use that knowledge against myself. If I was upset about something, like a fight with a friend or an awkward moment at school, I'd judge myself for my feelings, dismissing my reality because really, I knew I was lucky. And really, I knew there were so many other people who had it so much worse than I did. Instead of using my privilege to help those around me, I was using it against myself, weakening myself out of guilt and shame. In elementary school, I used to daydream about having real problems. I would read books about kids in the Holocaust and imagine myself hiding from the Nazis and standing up to persecution in the face of danger. I would lose myself in stories of past victimization to make myself feel better somehow, as if the very real pain and trauma of the Holocaust could somehow assuage my own guilt for the cushy life I was now enjoying. As if the experience of our people's historical otherness could somehow absolve me of my whiteness and my privilege. But then again, I didn't think of myself as white. I'm not adopted, but when I was younger, my skin was significantly darker than the rest of my family. My family was white, and I was brown, and the world made sure I noticed. When we went out in public, people spoke Spanish to me and consistently mistook me as a child of the help. In airports, I was mistaken for every nationality, assumed not to speak English, and subjected to any extra security check you could possibly think of. My best friend at the time was a blonde Guatemalan American girl named Elisa. Elisa has always been proud of her heritage and her ability to speak Spanish, and I have always been jealous of how cool I think it makes her. But when we went to parks or museums or fairs together, it was me everyone spoke Spanish to and assumed I did or did not belong. Much to her annoyance, Elisa was always the one they read as white. She would try to speak Spanish to them, and they'd switch to English, dismissing who she was because of the color of her skin and her hair. And the uncomfortable truth is, part of me liked being othered. I liked it because it was really only the smallest annoyances of othering I had to put up with, and all the benefits. I only had to contend with the dramatic history of the Holocaust, not the real trauma of everyday discrimination and systematic victimization. It was just enough othering to make me feel like I was the victim without ever actually being one. Just enough to make me feel like I wasn't part of the problem. I wasn't part of the system, so I didn't need to change anything. I couldn't. It wasn't my job. I wasn't the oppressor. I'm Jewish. I'm a victim too. Race and otherness was something I could put on and take off like a costume. And then I moved to Chicago for college. Coming from Los Angeles, I was used to a plethora of nationalities and racial identities. But in the South Side of Chicago, there seemed to be only two choices: white and black. White people were assumed to be associated with the university, and black people were not. I, as a white person, could forget my student ID and still get into the library to use the bathroom without thinking twice. And yet, every so often, my black classmates would have to empty their pockets and prove their right to be on their own campus in the middle of the day, much less using the bathroom in the library at night. My skin has gotten whiter as I age, and the whiter it gets, the more privilege I enjoy, and the harder it is to admit my own complicity in the system I benefit from. When I get pulled over by the police, my first question to myself is not, how do I make sure this officer knows I'm unarmed? My first question is, am I more likely to get out of a ticket if I cry or if I smile? As a woman, I worry about the ramifications of being too direct or too friendly with a man. But as a white woman, I also expect my tears and my smile to be listened to. I expect to be listened to when I ask for help. And that's privilege. That's power. And whether or not we want it, that power is ours to do with what we will. And today is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Another opportunity to see ourselves and our world for all that it is and all that it could be. A time to open our eyes and to see ourselves and our power for all that we truly are, as painful and as humbling as that may be. Today, like every day, is our chance to create the world we want to live in. Our chance to embrace our power and our privilege, and to use it to build up our world, rather than internalize the guilt and let it destroy us. Today is Rosh Hashanah, Hayom Harat Olam, Rosh Hashanah, the day the world was created. Hayom Haras Olam, the day the world could be destroyed. In Hebrew, there is just one letter difference between creation and destruction. One letter between our supreme power and our utter powerlessness. It can be a scary thing to realize our power. It can be terrifying to embrace ourselves for all that we are. Paralyzing even. Especially when we feel alone and powerless and like everything is beyond our control. And in a way, it is. Ultimately, we are powerless. We don't have the power to choose when we are born, nor what sex or race, nor into which socioeconomic demographic, or what kind of family or living situation. Most of the time, we don't have the power to choose when we die or what good or bad things happen to us along the way. We don't choose to lose loved ones or experience debilitating illness, nor do we choose when or if we win the lottery. We are all powerless, and we are all powerful. And that's part of the challenge. Each and every one of us has our own unique kind of power, our own potential to create change in small ways that build one on top of the other, in slow, steady layers, creating a better world, action by action, thought by thought, moment by precious moment. And we aren't alone. We have each other. In person and online, we are a community of powerful, powerful people. A community of dreamers and thinkers and doers. And we're in this together, using all of our variety of skills and talents to tackle the vast array of brokenness in our world from as many different paths as possible. We have different strengths and weaknesses, and these give us different accesses to power and avenues with which to use it. Each of us gets energized by different things, gives support in different ways, and needs help with different things. All of us have a slightly different worldview and values. We've all led different lives. We are different, and that's a good thing. It is our very differences that make us so incredibly powerful. We are powerful, all of us, with all of our different identities, histories, and realities, are gathered here today, online and in person, making time to see ourselves and our world with new eyes, making time to think about what exactly we want our world to look like. And all of us are capable of making the world a better place. And it doesn't have to be the big stuff. The world we live in is made up of the people we interact with on a regular basis. The places we go, the books and websites we read, ideas we think about, TV we watch, people we are in relationship with, the way we speak to ourselves and to others. We recreate our world every single morning. We use our power every day, whether or not we realize it, whether or not we choose to embrace it for all that it is, and all that it could be. We have a lot of work to do, and we need all of our different kinds of awesomeness and power, all of the different things that make us who we are and inspire us to be the best people we can be. And the more we can embrace ourselves in all of the messy truth that we are, the more powerful we become, both individually and together as a community. We can ignore our power, our shame, and our complicity if we choose to. Or we can embrace the messy and uncomfortable parts of ourselves and our own power and walk through our world with open eyes, leading ourselves and our community into a better tomorrow. Our world needs us, all of us, and we need each other. On this Rosh Hashanah, we have the chance to build the world we want to live in, right here, right now, together.